Welcome to this Football Manager 2019 experiment where I have flipped all of the English leagues around. I've done this experiment pretty much every year on my channel and I thought let's do this first for FM19. So for those of you that have not watched this experiment before, what I have done is I have moved the real life English Premier League teams and Championship teams into the National League North and South. And as you can see, the North and South teams are in the Premier League. The bottom 10 reputation teams from each of the North and South have moved into the Premier League. The rest of them are in the Championship, as you can see there. League 1 consists of the real life National League Premier teams. League 2 is the same because they're bang in the middle. The National League consists of all the League 1 teams. And then we've got the National League North and South, geographically split correctly, consisting of the Premier League and Championship teams. Due to there being so many Southern Premier League teams this season, in the 2018-19 season, there are 11 Premier League teams now in the National League South, with the rest being Championship teams, and there's 9 Northern-based Premier League teams in the National League North. So what I'm going to do in this experiment, we're going to holiday into the future. In this part 1, I'm going to holiday one season, and we shall see what's happened, who's won the respective leagues, who has won the FA Cup, League Cup, etc. I'm going to release a part 2 later, where I'm going to holiday a further 3 seasons into the future, and we'll continue after that, depending on how long you want this to go on. If you love this idea, please hit that like button. I have put the database download link in the description below. That's a Steam Workshop link, so you can subscribe to that and you can have a play yourself on this database on Football Manager 2019. If you are new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button for more FM19 content. So at the end of the first Premier League season, Alfreton are champions of England, finishing ahead of FC United, Blythe Spartans and Leamington Spa, who all qualify for next season's Champions League. So make sure you watch part 2 later on to see how they get on in the Champions League. Oxford City have qualified for the Europa League. I suspect the FA Cup and League Cup were won by real life Premier League teams. We'll see in a second. As you can see, the players here, there's not been many transfers. In the future, as we progress, those of you that have watched this experiment before will know that these teams will get money. They get TV money, they get Champions League money, they will sign players from the bottom of English football, maybe from Europe as well. It will start to get really, really interesting. Players will just be going all over the place. Some players will stay with the likes of Man City, Man United, and they'll ride up the divisions with them because they will still have plenty of money for a long time. So we saw Gloucester, Hemel Hempstead and Slough. They're the unfortunate 3 teams to get relegated. We often see teams spiralling out of control. We holiday 40 seasons into the future. Some of these teams will end up back where they started. Other teams will turn into power forces of Europe. That's what I want to do. I want these teams to really do really well. Anyway, let's head down to the Championship. You can see just a few player stats here for those of you that are interested. But yes, part 2, we'll start to see some interesting transfers, so make sure you watch that later on. So the Championship was won by Billericay Town. They've got so much money compared to the other teams at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if they go on and win the Premier League in part 2. Chester went up with them, and Stockport also went up via the playoffs, as you can see there, with Bradford, Park Avenue, Hereford and Truro City going down. Bradford pretty unlucky, only 1 point behind Welling United. Top goal scorer was a Torquay United player, 20 goals this season. Connor Lehman here. Evans, my team, Chelmsford City, where I'm from, mid-table, comfortable mid-table finish for them. Hopefully they'll do quite well in this save. But yes, Billericay Town have been promoted to the Premier League. League 1 then, Boreham Wood managed to win it with 92 points. Well ahead of second place Barnet. Salford miss out. They haven't been promoted to the Championship. I was predicting them to go on and do really well and probably dominate English football in a couple seasons' time, but they failed to get promotion this season. Dagenham and Redbridge have gone up via the playoffs instead of Salford. Braintree, Eastleigh, Solihull and Havington Waterloo relegated to League 2. League 2 then, this is just a standard League 2 season. MK Dons, Lincoln City, Northampton promoted automatically. Cambridge United went up via the playoffs. Tranmere and Morecambe have been relegated into this very tough group of, well, they're going to be in the non-league now with some big teams who will be coming up from the bottom divisions. Shelton and Sunderland promoted from the National League to the Football League. We'll probably see them rise up a few divisions now because they should be superior to some of the teams in the divisions above. Rochdale, Wimbledon, Coventry and Wycombe relegated. Now, the teams promoted from the North and South will probably go all the way up to the Premier League now, whoever gets out of that group first. But remember, only 2 teams go up each time. So some teams may get stuck. Other teams, you'd expect Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, etc. to rise up the league straight away. But it just depends if they can get out that group first of all. So let's find out who was promoted. So it was Liverpool, champions, and Man City going up via the playoffs instead of Man United, Everton and Newcastle. Rotherham, Wigan and Bolton relegated to the depths of English football, Tier 7, which we can't see on the game. And they may struggle to get back up again, to be honest. But yeah, Liverpool and Man City promoted. Liverpool only lost 2 games all season. It's so strange to see the likes of Aguero, top goal scorer, with Firmino in the National League North. 18 goals each, as you can see there. Firmino, top average rating. Goodmanson from Burnley with the most assists. The lowest placed Premier League team, where are they? Huddersfield actually finished below Sheffield United. So Sheffield United, a real life championship team, just on 1 goal difference. The championship teams all below. Leeds United pretty close to the relegation zone, considering how well they're doing in real life. That's a bit of a surprise. So the National League South then was won by Bournemouth. That is a big surprise. 93 points. Clear of Chelsea and Tottenham. Arsenal went up via the playoffs instead of Chelsea, Spurs and West Ham. In fact, isn't it the top 7 or 8? No, top 8 teams now that go into the playoffs? There's a quarter-final stage of the playoffs now at this level, I think. In fact, we can have a look. Yeah, there's the first round. So Arsenal versus Watford, West Ham versus Southampton. We then saw Arsenal beat Chelsea and Southampton beat Tottenham before Arsenal beat Southampton in the final. Imagine if Southampton and Bournemouth had gone up. That would have been really interesting. So will Bournemouth rise to the top of English football and dominate in a few years' time? It really does depend on if they can get to the top flight, along with the likes of Arsenal, Man City and Liverpool, who have also been promoted in this first season. Brentford, Reading and Ipswich relegated, by the way. In fact, Fulham went into administration. 10 points. Is that because of all the players they signed in real life, remember? And then, basically, they're now in the National League South. Has that been problematic for them? Let's just have a quick look at them. So, finances are only okay. They're not poor or anything, but they've obviously had massive financial problems. Have they had to sell anyone in the summer? So they signed all these players. So these are real life transfers, I suppose, on there. I don't think they had to sell anyone in January. But yeah, Fulham in trouble. So they actually finished well below the rest of the real life Premier League teams, as you can see here, down in 15th place. Even if they had got those 10 extra points, they'd have been below some of the Premier League teams. Swansea were the top championship team, as you can see there, finishing above Cardiff on goal difference. Let's move on to the FA Cup then, which was won by Chelsea. So Chelsea will be taking part in the Europa League next season, despite the fact they're in the National League South still. They beat Crystal Palace 4-1 in the final. Giroud with a couple goals in injury time, as you can see there. Moving on to the League Cup, it was won by Man United. So they also qualify for Europe next year, beating Spurs in the final 1-0. We'll look at the Champions League and see how the Premier League teams got on, because, of course, there were Premier League teams taking part in this competition. So Man United reached the final of the Champions League. Oh no, Man United overpowered again on this game. Although, remember, they didn't actually get out of the National League North. They were concentrating too much on the League Cup and the Champions League, whereas perhaps Man City and Liverpool were concentrating on getting out of non-league football. Mourinho was still trying to win competitions. He won the League Cup, but failed in the final against Real Madrid. Real Madrid win again, without Ronaldo, remember. They are a dominant force in Europe. Let's see how the other teams got on. So, no other English teams in the semi-final, but Man United beat Barcelona on away goals. Quarter-finals, we saw Tottenham reach this stage, but they lost against Real Madrid 7-2 on aggregate, as you can see there. In the first knockout round, Liverpool and Man City both got to this stage, but this is when they bowed out. Looking at the league, the Europa League, Arsenal won this, so they have qualified for the Champions League next season. We are going to have one team from the bottom. Well, they're going to be in the National League, of course, because they got promoted. There's going to be a National League team in the Champions League next season as well, along with the 4 teams that finished in the top 4 of the Premier League, of course. So Arsenal could do quite well, and they'll be able to attract players still. So they should dominate the National League. They'll obviously probably do reasonably well in the Champions League as well. Let's see if Chelsea managed to get far in this competition. Doesn't look like it actually. They were knocked out by Ajax in the first knockout round of the Europa League, so they didn't do particularly well actually. So well done to Alfreton for winning the first Premier League title on this save. Like I said, I'm going to be holidaying 3 more seasons in part 2, so keep your eyes peeled for that later on today. And then after that, we'll continue to holiday into the future to see what happens in English football. It's going to be messy. I really hope some of these teams stay in the top flight for a long time, even when the real life Premier League teams catch up, because they inevitably will. It's happened every single time I've done this experiment. I'm hoping one day one of these teams can hold off the challenge of the likes of Man City, Liverpool, Man United and stay at the top of English football, but we shall see. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. Like I said, you can download the file from the Steam Workshop, link in the description below. Until next time, enjoy Football Manager 2019. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you very soon.